Yeah, that's better. Merci au Musée de West Baton Rouge de soutien financer cet épisode.
Bonjour et bienvenue à LACréole Show. C'est moi, Amélie, et nous sommes là avec Olivia et Sid du film Intention. Donc, hi guys.
Hi.
Hi.
So, to start off, can you guys just tell us a little bit about the film and what inspired you guys to make it?
Sure. So Intention follows stories of 11 women based in the Acadiana area. And we talk about how we heal culture by way of art, music, food, language preservation, and traditional faith healing.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Nope.
Well, you asked how, I guess, the idea came to be. So we kind of wanted to, make a film about artists who have healing qualities to their art. And so that's kind of how the whole thing kind of started. And then we realized there was this whole other umbrella of everything intertwined within our culture that we wanted to share and document and preserve, because a lot of these stories had never been heard before, and it wouldn't be, what you would typically see. So we were excited to share that.
So why is it, do you think, that before y'all made this film that the stories hadn't been told?
I think that through our research, we really realized that there's not a lot of information on women in our culture and in Louisiana specifically. I think mostly what we found was information about Louisiana women's prisons, or really sad stories about women, not really empowering, uplifting stories about women, or the ways that women had carried the culture. A lot of the stories were very male focused and centralized, so I think that we had a lot of ground to cover. Yeah. There's still a lot of stories to tell too, so yeah, we're excited to help encourage others to, document their own family histories and their own ancestral roots. So
and so how many women did you speak to?
Sorry. In general, or we spoke to a lot of women, but the women that we focus on were 11 women.
So what was the most impactful story that was told, personally for you? What was the most moving and impactful story?
That's hard. That's really hard. I would probably have to say I would say Willa Dugas' story was probably the most impactful for me, because I felt like her path was just so rare. But also, not so rare, but well, yeah, I don't know, just it really encouraged me to seek outside of my own lineage also. And it kind of pushed me on a different journey of investigating my own place in my relationship with other cultures, and kind of how I identify and interact with those things. And definitely meeting her changed me a lot.
Olivia?
Yeah, I would have to agree as far as the most awakening per se, in as far as just hearing people's stories, and the things that they went through, it really changes your perspective, or opens up your perspective, I should say, based on you know, the way that you live your life or where you came from. And her story was just really profound and very different. So it was really cool to receive her wisdom and to see where she comes from. And she's like 80 years old now. And I was just thinking a lot about her last night. And it just, yeah, to see, you know, how far she's come and what she's done with her life and how happy she is where she's at, you know, that was a really wonderful thing to, to receive and hear from her, you know, and the places that she's been. And I would have to say, as far as like inspiration goes, Linda Fries is a big inspiration of mine. Her story is towards the end of the film. But she goes to different World Heritage sites all around the world and takes pigments from these heritage sites and uses them in her art. And that's something I'm really interested in, especially fusing the natural world within art, you know, within visual art, within an object, you know, that you make. So it was really powerful to hear more in depth of her journey as well, and how that serves as a healing tool for her audience and the people that come in contact with her work.
Yeah, so I was actually just about to ask you a little bit more about the healing aspect and how you guys portrayed that, and how these women are healing through culture. And just, could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, whenever you were talking about Linda, I was thinking about Nika, and I think something that she said that really stood out to me is that she's not preserving her culture, but she's living it. I think that's kind of like a very common thread throughout all of the women, is that they're living their culture, and like through that living practice they're able to heal aspects of their life. I think that anything that dictates itself as a living practice has that kind of potential to make you question and make you change, and I don't know, just work it out through the work. But
Yeah, and despite hardships, you know, like having that motivation, that underlying motivation other than preserving your own culture, you know, I think that's really powerful to overcome. And I think that that's kind of a recurring theme that we find in the film, you know, it's like people did what they had to do to survive, and crafting and preserving the culture and making art was just like one of them. It wasn't like, it was just kind of second nature. It wasn't necessarily, you know, extra per se.
yeah.
Yeah. And how do you think that other women might go about doing the same thing that these women have been doing without, like you said, it being extra, but for some women it might be. So how do you think that that can work?
I think that our really, or I mean, I can't speak for Olivia, but I think, like, personally, my intention is like for the film to have this lightness for people who watch it, to be able to feel that motivation of like either whether it's like practicing what they already practice or seek a practice. I think that we've had a lot of incredible response from people who've had that experience after watching it, for either feeling very validated in what they're doing, or feeling like seen and heard, like, oh, I didn't really understand or have the words to put to this thing that I just do or have to, or, you know, I think that art that is able to do that is very helpful for others, or I hope so. I hope ours is. There's a lot of art that I love that has done that for me. So I feel super lucky that we have been able to do that even in a small way for other people too.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So the inspiration was just like wanting to do just what you said and just inspire other women to take control of their culture and their tradition and just keep it alive, but live it while, yeah.
Yeah, just like really tuning in to like wherever you come from, you know, just to I think I've been on this, you know, journey myself, especially with making this film, and it's been just really eye-opening to see how like my life makes sense based on my ancestral lineage, you know. And I think that every single person can find a lot of fascinating things about themselves and their families, you know, by just getting to know their culture better, and as well as the culture that they live in, you know, and you know, really just kind of hone in on what their passion is and why they do it. And I think that was like a big theme that kept recurring, you know, whenever we've made the film, but also definitely, as Sid was saying, the reception that we've gotten so far has been really profound. So.
And also, I think something so special about culture is that maybe if you don't necessarily feel close to your family, or you don't necessarily feel that connection to your ancestry, that where you live and where you exist in your community and where you participate, and not just here in Louisiana, you know, that can be a source of like tuning in and feeling grounded and feeling a part of something. And I think like something that Elizabeth, one of the subjects in our film, says is like that, you know, people want to be a part of something. And I think that's a very like humbling thing to remember, is just like to see your neighbors that way, that like that, you know, we want to be accepted, we want to connect, like we want to have that experience, and to be able to kind of, you know, relate to the world looking for that, whether it's, you know, your blood lineage or not, is like so healing, I think, to others. And I think that we also found through our research that culture is way more expansive than just like maybe the terms that we've seen it, because even people that aren't necessarily from Louisiana originally, like Linda, have given so much to our culture, have enriched our culture, and nourished it, and interacted with it. And so to kind of say, well, they're not a part of the culture isn't true or accurate. And so I think kind of also part of our research was like, how do we redefine these terms, and how do we kind of you know, re-enliven these old words and traditions into something that fits into this more modern sense, you know?
Absolutely.
Also, I went through your Instagram and I saw the word traiteur. So can you guys tell me a little bit about that term and how it became a part of your film and how that worked?
Sure. So when looking at traditional faith healing, traitors are a big part of Cajun culture. And well, I believe they exist in their own ways in many different cultures, you know, arguably all of them, but, you know, they're just called, you know, different terminology. But so yeah, looking at faith healing, we met Becca Begno, and she showed us like this whole other world of what she does with her healing work. And so it's passed down through generations, traditionally between man and woman. But she shares in the film that she received it from another woman that she wasn't related to, but her grandfather was a traitor. And so she had the gift in her. But so yeah, it's just, it's Catholicism based, and it's praying over people for different ailments. And some can even like stop bleeding, or it's just minor things of just, you know, if you're aching, you know. But what she also shares in the film is that it's very much about yourself too, you know, of being in a certain mindset to believe in. It's almost as if you heal yourself as well, because she believes that everybody has a healer within them. So it's not only, even though there is the tradition of the lineage being, of the prayers being passed down, she believes that we all have the power to work on ourselves and heal ourselves if we have the right open-mindedness to do that.
That's fine.
I also think that's interesting. I never really thought about this, but until now, but just that her experience was, you know, receiving the prayers from another woman. So I think that, like, also just embedded in the film over and over are these little minor details of which women are challenging these ideas and beliefs that we have about our culture. And it's not outright, it's not like we are like, you know, fighting the patriarchy or something, because that's just like not how we handle things here. But I do think that I do think that those aspects are healing to these belief systems, like just by being stated outright and just by being practiced and being documented are kind of you know, signs and symbols that we're progressing and we're moving forward. And even in women that are maybe, you know, in their 60s, like, are still moving us forward. And then we have women, you know, in their 20s, and the ways that they're living and existing and interacting with the culture, the way that they're writing music in their own language from their own perspective for the first time ever, really predominantly in the past 50 years. But I would say the, you know, music that's being created by women in Louisiana at this point is historical and legendary and will go down in history, and is really an aspect that I feel so grateful and inspired by, to hear the words and experiences of my friends in the language that they understand this particular place the best in. I think that we're just so lucky that we have gotten to just like interact with these people and their art. And yeah.
So, and about the language, did any of your subjects, you obviously said, but outside of the musicians, did any of them speak Creole or French?
Yes, they did. Willa speaks Creole. That was the only, well, and Alex Johnson is Creole, but she actually wasn't allowed to learn how to speak it. So I thought that was very interesting too, that you know, there's just so much to the story. And I think that whenever we think about Louisiana French, like, we're really often thinking only about a very small percentage of the story. And so yeah, but yeah, we had a lot. Becca speaks French, she speaks Cajun French, the musicians speak French. Then Ashley Michaud is like the language preservation, she's also a musician, but she definitely speaks French. And Linda Fries also speaks French. Yeah.
Cool. And could you tell us a little bit about how, well, I just want to say it's amazing to see a film about women and the culture in Louisiana, because it's something that I had never seen before. I've always seen men centered, and I think it's just amazing that y'all did that. So
Thank you.
Thank
I'm so glad you liked it. Awesome.
So how do you think that this film can help young women in their adventures to delve more into their culture and their identities and how that relates? So, like, how do you think that that will help? Because you guys mentioned that you had a lot of feedback about that. So I'm just a little bit curious about more.
Yeah, I just think that it's we hope that it's just an inspiring piece, you know, for people, artists and non-creatives as well, you know, for whatever they feel like their purpose may be in life. That could definitely change, you know, but just the way that they go about their daily lives, of like why they do what they do. I think just honing into that starts like the snowball effect of like other possibilities, and just for them to know that, yeah, like anything is possible, you know. And I know that's like really cliche to say, but I think whenever you are your most authentic self, whenever you continually learn your entire life who that is, you know, and even, as I said, like if you evolve, which you will, I think that's the most powerful and would sustain your work in whatever line of work that is.
I love that so much. I'm just like, wow, I love her, you know, every moment. But I I I think like being or something that I just wish that I would have told myself as a young woman too is like just to stay contented in whatever practice it is that's like opening your heart and, you know, allowing you to connect to that like heart-centeredness of other people. Because I keep quoting the movie, but something Elizabeth says that I love is that like life isn't supposed to be like high and low all the time. You know, that's not really like a sustainable way of living. And I think that nurturing your passion consistently is something that will ensure that you're not living really all the time in these two states. I guess if you're approaching it from that perspective. Um, but I think just being like okay with where you are and being grounded in where you are and being appreciative of where you are and really looking around you and seeing your environment in a new way, even if you've lived in the same place your whole life, that there's still novelty there. And I think that, you know, sometimes it's easy to feel like downtrodden by the same old thing or whatever. But just to kind of, you know, and through your practice, to seek your surroundings and the novelty and, you know, your relationships and everything. Because in doing this project, what I learned the most is that, I mean, from like a personal level, from like a working collaboration level, from like directing and writing aspect, and then working with a team, it's like your place in that is so much more, you affect so much more than you think, I think sometimes. And like the way that you show up really affects other people and affects the product in the end. And I think, yeah, just like I want to tell little me that and old me, but just that, you know, just like show up and do your best and be your best, because it matters. Even if you don't get an award or whatever, it's important.
So, anything else you want to say to our viewers?
Watch our movie.
Yeah, so it's being in consideration for various film festivals right now, and so we'll be posting on our Instagram at intention.film when the next available opportunity is to see the film. And we also launched our website recently. It's honestartproductions.com, and there you can see like our poster, a little bit about the film, stills from the film, and some behind the scenes photography, and also about our short film we made in 2018 called Migration. And that was a 5-minute short, and there's some info on there about that. And if you feel so inclined, you can donate to our production company and the distribution of the film, which, we just want to push it as far as we can, and we want as many people around the whole world to see it as we can. So we've been lucky with that a little bit so far. It just screened worldwide in December in hotels in French-speaking country with TV5Monde Voyage, which was one of the grant sponsors for the Create Louisiana grant that we got to finish the film. So we are super grateful to them and Create Louisiana, the whole team. So yeah, check out our website, honestartproductions.com.
Yes.
And follow our Instagram at Intention Film.
Thank you guys so much for taking the time. And
thank you for having us.
of course.
For having us.
Merci. À la prochaine, vous autres.
Bye.
Bye.